Good afternoon, everybody. I hope to outdo Joseph and how stressed I can get probably up here. If you guys don't understand me, my wife is here, she's to translate. After all these years in the US, seems like my accent didn't go away. We are from Core Veterinary Pharmacy. Let me quickly move one up. And my wife will be talking first. Pam asked us to do some talking about the safety handling of drugs. And that's the moment she's going to be talking. I'll go out more about the perphenazine.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Trina, and I'm the pharmacist in charge at Core Veterinary Pharmacy. So Pam asked us to talk about, safe handling and keeping of drugs. So I'm going to start where Pam kind of left off at our regulatory bodies that we have to answer to. So let me just... Okay, so we have to, our regulatory body is the Board of Pharmacy, also the DEA, and that's same for veterinarians, and that is same for the FDA inspects us as well. So we have to abide to the rules and regulations. Also, all veterinary pharmacies or compounding pharmacies, we have to go and do extensive training. So we have to go and get veterinary certification in medicine. We have to do sterile training, and we have to do non-sterile training as well. The compounding we do is we make drugs, and we make a product. All our ingredients have to be FDA approved. And we have to have certificate of analysis that is available to anyone if they ask us. That kind of gives you an idea of where this drug is coming from, what the ingredients or the purity or the potency of this medication is. So also we have to do a lot of testing on these drugs. And I'm sure some of you have used compounded medication, especially in the wildlife, because there's not always everything available, or not everything that is commercially available is effective on these species. So you might have used some compounded medication. We have to do extensive testing on this. Okay, so when partners came to us and they were talking about perphenazine, because that's one of those medications that is FDA approved, or the chemical is FDA approved, but it's not available in the United States. So we have to, when we start a product, we have to send it off for testing. The first 3 parts of the testing is when we start the product. So we send it off for potency testing. That is to kind of confirm, and this goes to third-party labs. We don't do it in-house, it goes to a third-party lab. We have to confirm that whatever we claim is in this product, strength, potency, and all that. Then the second part is potency over time. That's one of the biggest steps, or the most time-consuming steps. This can take up to like 6 months, because if we do potency over time, by getting that potency at the end of that timeline, we can only put an expiration on that medication. So normally when we begin with a product like perphenazine, this takes time, and it takes about 6 months for us to get all that data to kind of put an expiration date on this. Sterile method suitability is something that the FDA is now enforcing. That's an extra test that we have to do before we can even have this product available. Then, if this product is available and we have to sell it to, or we can sell it to the public, we have to do sterile and endotoxin training or testing on every single batch we make. That ensures that whatever you get, there's no bacteria in there, there's no endotoxins in there, and we have to do that testing on it. All of this is very time-consuming, and it can get pricey. So finally, obviously that causes delays in the availability of the product. Okay, so now this is something that I think Dr. Barker is very passionate about, is storing and handling of these medications. This goes for commercial products and compounded products. The only difference between commercial products and compounded products is we have a very limited expiration date, maximum of 180 days. So if there's 2 major things that kind of plays a role into storage of medications. First of all, it is the temperature, and then light. So temperature, if your product reads room temperature, it doesn't mean that you can have it in your truck out in the sun somewhere. Texas heat is not room temperature. So you have to keep this in a We kind of suggest, you know, like if you have a styrofoam bottle, box or something, just keep it in there. You don't have to put ice packs in there or anything like that, but you just want to protect it from the outside heat. That needs to be stored under 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Every single time that a product that is either supposed to be at room temperature, fridge, that's the specifications, or even in the freezer, the moment that it's not kept under that circumstances, it starts degrading. That means that it starts losing its potency, and when you take 1 cc and you inject that, it's not going to give you the same concentration or strength that you would have had if you stored it under the right conditions. So the other thing is fridge. If it says fridge, you cannot put it in the freezer. That doesn't mean fridge, because most of these chemicals, if it goes below a certain temperature, it can actually fall out of solution. It can crystallize. That also brings down the potency of this medication. Even if you thaw it and you like have it out there and ready to use, all that medication already is now not in the solution or the soluble form like it's supposed to be. Light sensitivity is also a very important one. Most of our products, we put in a little amber bottle to kind of help with that. But that means you cannot have it in direct sunlight for a long period of time. It will start degrading, potency goes down. The other important thing that I think gets looked over a lot is expiration date or beyond use date. Like I say, most of our compounded products is only 180 days after we've tested it, that it's still potent after 180 days. We can assign it 180 days. But it's not supposed to be used after the expiration date because we can't guarantee any potency at that point. The other important thing that I don't know if a lot of people forget is this is an FDA regulation as well. The moment that you needle puncture or you go into that bottle, 28 days after that, it should be discarded, because you introduce bacteria, toxins, air. There's so many things that can be introduced into that bottle. And that's another thing is you need to have that little alcohol swab or something close, wipe it before you introduce the needle, and then wipe it afterwards. It just keeps that product safe and helps that there's no bacteria or endotoxins getting in. Okay, so the next question a lot of people ask us is, how do I get my compounded medication? And like Dr. Barker said, there has to be a relationship between the veterinarian and the owner or the client. So if you do, all our products need prescriptions. You're going to have to speak to your veterinarian. That veterinarian can have it either called into us, they can call it directly, or they can fax or give us a prescription, or they can give you a prescription and you can send it into the pharmacy. There's a lot of information that we have to document on these prescriptions, specifically because it's compounded medication. There needs to be a reason why it needed compounded. It was supposed to be, or why we compounded specifically. We have to have the ranch name, the address, the telephone number, and all that. Especially on controlled substances, the most important thing is we have to have the owners or the client or the person who's getting the medication's date of birth. And I know that's it's a weird thing to ask, but that's the only way that kind of the DEA can keep track of these controlled substances. We also have to note the species and also the number of animals. And that is not always something that you can know beforehand, but we kind of help you through at that point. Like if a 10 cc bottle can dose so many animals, we kind of can say that's the amount of animals that's going to be treated. Then if the prescription gets to the pharmacy, if the product is available, we normally process it in the same day and it can ship. And second day shipping or the next day shipping is actually most places in Texas. If that product is in quarantine, and what that means is we've sent it off, like I said before, we have to do each batch, we have to send off to sterility testing, and that takes about 2 weeks. That is if the labs are not backed up or there's not some problems. So that's about a 2 week from the day that we make it that we have to have that product in quarantine. And then, so if you place an order and it's in quarantine, it'll ship the moment that it comes out of quarantine. 2 ways of picking up the medication. We're located in Zagenia, so we have some of our clients just come by and pick it up. But the important thing about this is, I don't know if you can see the signed agreement. This is an agreement form that we decided to do because the regulations on are you allowed to transport this drug control drug from one place to another place? Can this person inject it? That's an agreement form that we kind of like has put on all the regulations from our side as the pharmacy board. We put it down and we have the owner sign that we've went over this agreement, and then they send it back. We keep it on file with us and we document it with the prescriptions as well. Okay, on the controlled substances, this is sometimes a problem. If the veterinarian has called it in, we cannot ship controlled substances to the veterinarian who's prescribed it. That is a rule, a pharmacy board rule, that's an FDA rule. We have to ship it straight to the owner. And we have to ship it to the ranch that it's going to be administered, and that's where it's supposed to go. So sometimes it's the veterinarian that comes out and administers these drugs, but we cannot ship it to the veterinarian, and then they transport it to the place that they are going to be administering these medications. Okay, well, my part is done. If we're going to have some questions afterwards, I think if you do, I will be here to answer mostly on the pharmacy side. He has more to say about the perphenazine.
Thank you.
You have it?
I do think on that safety handling of medicine, like Dr. Brian said, drugs has been used. You can't tell somebody that has been doing something for so long and it worked, that this is now the way, sorry man, of course I have something in my throat, the new way to do something. But we can all know that these animals are very expensive, it's an investment, and if we can do everything we can do right, let's do it right. If we can be one extra tool in your box that you can call and say, hey Frans, I had this chemical, not that I made it, anything, call me. We love to be hands-on with people. Call me and tell me, hey, I had this one drug, it reached this temperature, I'll tell you, I'll call you back. I'll research and say, hey, this one will break down into that kind of chemicals that can have that effect. Whatever we can do can help. Like you said, small things, diabetes alcohol swab. You buy a box of 100 for $1. Clean the stopper before you punch it, makes a big effect. You don't want to be think 1/10% could have made a big difference on all this infection my animal have now. Small little things that they can have effect. So perphenazine, water-based perphenazine. The drug is not that we invented something new. The drug has been used in South Africa. It was a drug that was discovered in the 1950s by French. It was part of the group of the pentothiazines. So it's a very common drug and that has it works on the neuroleptic effect on the central nervous system. So it affects right there by the hypothalamus. And this drug has effect in humans that start using it for people with schizophrenia. So if you can think now what effect this drug will do is effect on schizophrenia. In the veterinary world, I do think, if I look around, probably a lot of you have been involved with horses and battle racing, so you would know acepromazine, promazine, and chlorpromazine. It's all in the same group. For the animal world, there was only, for injection world, there was only an oil-based, trilafon. And then there was a veterinarian that asked, will this drug not work better than haloperidol? Because he had a lot of struggles with haloperidol, animals dying, and the doctor is Dr. Ulf Tubisen in Namibia. And he was the one that spearheaded, and he got actually a compounding pharmacist to try and make it out. They tried a few formulas, got it to be in the water, and it worked very well in the water base. So that's basically the history of it. How we got to, as core veterinary pharmacy, to it, I met Kevin a while back, and he asked me about the drug, and I was like, I can't get the chemical. It's not in the US, it's a pure chemical, because it's available for humans in tablet form, but we can't crush up human tablet forms to convert this into an injection. So he contacted us and said, can we try and make this into the thing? We struggled with all our trusted, we have to say trusted, because we only use chemical companies that I know and trust, and they sent me, like you said, an essay, a certificate that breaks down the whole chemical, where they got it, and they've tested it with a third lab. They get things from their thing, and they test a third lab, proving this chemical is pure and right. Eventually got it to import in the country, and we mimicked the South African formula they had to have it here, and to bring it into the country. So thanks to Kevin that's been pushing to think this would be a great idea to try something like this here, seeing that it's used in South Africa with much better effect than any of the other ones. So that's where I am now with us. I grew up in South Africa on a game farm and eventually ended up studying pharmacy. The farm that I partly spent my life is now part of, I don't know if any of you know the Salati in South Africa. There's a big 28,000 hectare there. I grew up bare feet. This is close to the Salati. It's actually just across the street there from the Salati. And that's Mr. Pete Warren. He's also one of the owners there. So we grew up there. My wife is from Namibia. She's also a game farmer. So this is a field that we're not just pharmacists doing this. We are pharmacists really love being in the field. I really love the animals. I grew up with the animals. And when we realized this is something that we can do for ourselves, we worked for somebody in California that did this, but they were only in whitetail. And we decided we're going to move to Texas to branch out and try and make ourselves something. Oh, that's right, I got ahead of myself. The previous page is actually just what Pam has actually worked well through. It's about the stress and all those things on animals. And where perphenazine will just be an extra tool in your box to use with the transport and handling of the animals. Pam has basically handled all these subjects very thoroughly. This is a slogan that Dr. Toof has said that I thought makes very much sense. Tranquilization is not a substitute for proper animal capture, handling, tranquilization, or housing, or transport. So we can't tranquilize the animal afterwards while transporting, or housing, or getting into a situation where he can get more calm of what he's going to do and how he's going to be living and adapt to his new environment and new herd. Where perphenazine is, like I said, it worked right on that nervous centrum to take off the edge. And we'll show you some videos of the animals. And the difference between perphenazine and haloperidol, if you look at the graph, it basically drops like this. And it also has much more drug interactions with other drugs. But perphenazine doesn't have so much drug interaction with the other drugs. And it has a long graph of lasting on the hypothalamus. Although it's a water base, it still works long on that nervous system. And come back again, like I said, like schizophrenia. You can think with people, it works on that centrum where it can have effect on how they react, outburst, on serotonin, adrenaline release, all those things that are having effect on the nervous system. Long distance transportation. With perphenazine, you get up to 5 to 7 days that the animals stay calm with this medication. Offloading in smaller camps. In South Africa, a lot of the normies, when they buy something, they will release it in the wild in some cases, but a lot of times they have to transport it and they have live auctions. So they put it in bomas. And that's where perphenazine is used quite a bit because the animal will adapt.
Frans, just a quick question on the duration going out 5 to 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any concern about the animal that's under the drug getting pushed around and beat up by the animals in the herd or not?
We're going to talk about that around. That was also one of my concerns back then we talked a lot about South Africa, and that's one thing that I want to say is we didn't invent this drug and say, hey, now try it out. This drug is used 99% of South Africa with all drug transport. And what is making differences about this drug is it's not, if you introduce it into a herd, it can move around, and we'll see some videos where it moves around. It doesn't look injured. It doesn't look weak. I've even had topics there where it doesn't have effect, where the other bull sees, hey, there's another young bull, I'm going to dominate him before he gets up to his feet. And natural herd instinct, if something looks injured, they want to push it out before the predators come there. So it does not have an effect. That just has a calming effect, for so long a calming effect. That's why Dr. Pam Baker and everybody in South Africa has already settled with the drug. They are so happy to use the drug because it has a calming effect only. It does not have a drowsy falling around effect. And even in places where they bring different groups into a boma, even those in a small confined area, they're still very much just socializing. Like I said, they take the aggressive edge off, and that will be with young bulls. And minimizing fighting, some species we'll know like the sable, the Gensbok, they are very much, and even the females get there into a fight, that also it takes the fighting edge off completely, that they're not trying to get the other one quickly under so they can get away from it. The drug is also then, let me go. This drug is also very concentrated and it mixes well with other drugs because it's not like a zaparone or opiate or butanol. Like Pam explained very nicely, it doesn't compete for the same receptors. It works well with other drugs and it doesn't have other add-on effects except with one drug that will be one of the ingredients in some combinations that can have a effect. It's highly concentrated. In South Africa, they only make it in the 100 milligram. We've also made it in the 100 milligram per cc, and the dosage is very small, from 5 milligrams, so that's very, very small, up to 40 milligrams for a big kudu. That's only 0.4 cc. So it fit easily in a dart, fit easily in a syringe, and has no other effect. In the South African literature, we put that subcutaneous in, but mostly they don't use subcutaneous. The most common way is to inject it just before reversal into the veneers, into the ear in the vein, intravenous. A few vets, besides partners has been using it from us, is they've been using it intramuscular. Although I told them to use it intravenous, they started intramuscular and they love it intramuscular, so they've just been sticking with intramuscular. So they've been on that thing. It has a very rapid onset. The animals almost completely calm down with the intravenous, and intramuscular can take 5 to 10 minutes to kick in and has an effect then on that animal. This video I want to show you, like I said, it's not something new that was brought. It's Dr. Sam Wilkinson. He's also been in touch with South African vets. So he contacted us, and I told him we have the drug. He was so excited. He said, can he please have a few bottles? He took it with him, and he said they did a big, I don't want to lie, a big group of scimitar oryx that he had to spread. And he took it with him to the owner, and being something new, we're always scared. But this is not something new. This is something that's been used now for years, and almost, I don't know if anybody's still using haloperidol in South Africa. So he took it with him and explained to them he would like to use this, and the owner was skeptical. He says, let's not do this first. Later in the day, I would love to. I'm always open for new stuff, but these animals are expensive. Let's do it on some access later in the day. They loaded this bull up, and the bull went crazy that they were so scared he's going to break his horns in there while they were trying to get the other one. So being such a small dose, he told me he had to take perphenazine, and he diluted it with saline water. And he put it in a dart, and he darted the animal in the thing there while he's trying to break his horns in the cage. And that same day, he called me that night. He said, Frans, I want to send you this video. Look at this. He told me this is 5 minutes after administering the thing. See his eyes, it's moving, it's not numb, it's not tranquilized, it's not a tranquilizer. At the end of the day, the owner stopped and he said to him, all of the bugs, we inject them before we reverse them. They were all happy. He called me and said to me, can I get more bottles? Because the owner didn't want him to leave without the medication. He said, can I buy everything else from you? So that was the one video. So basically, there's not much me to say about the drug. Besides, it's in what groups it falls, how it works, to give you guys an idea. Because the drug's been on the market. If you were to contact us, I can send you links of South African vets that I spoke to quite often. And Kevin Robertson has quite some good vets as well, links that you can give that can tell you everything more about the drug and about different species they used it on. This one is thanks to Pam and Kevin and the Wildlife Partners. It's just another video to show, and most of you, I don't know how many have loaded zebra. And Kevin can probably tell you how long does this take, how long is this video after administering the drug took them to take effect. Can you guys remember how long? Was immediate after reversal, but how long did it take for them to be so calm? They woke up that calm, they stayed that calm, because they did intravenous in the ear. And I got a next video, we're going to come back to that one. And then the next video, just what Kevin was saying. Being that perphenazine has got an antiemetic effect as well. All of us have been sick. In that group of perphenazine, when we get nausea as humans, we use a group that they try and kind of made of that, promethazine. That's got an antiemetic for nausea effect. That antiemetic and nausea effect, but in the form of perphenazine, which works in that hypothalamus of calming down, I don't know, it's like somebody feeling happy, they start eating as well. Dr. Ulf Tubesen is the one that spearheaded it. He has big contracts to transport game from Namibia and Botswana into the Congo, where they now, the government is giving him some grants to relocate animals where they're not trying to wars over in certain areas because there's no animals left. And the Congo is lush green, but there's no animals. And he told me we'll drive on roads there is no roads. You can't call it a road anymore. So bad it is if you go some parts of the eastern side of Angola to get through Namibia there. And he would say, he would be so upset because those animals, after a 2-week track, will get off fatter off the trailer than the day he loaded them up. They eat all his profit away. Oh, that's it. This one doesn't want to play. This is one playing. And as you can see there, they try and take it, but he's chewing there on the side some hay, some alfalfa. Okay, this one didn't show with it well. Can't see that. If you look at closer, you can. Like I said, the effects last 4 to 6 days. Prolonged tranquilization does not pose a problem in the release of that. Enables the use of small darts even in big animals because you have that effect. Does not react in plastic, and it also doesn't form any stickiness in any syringe, being that we found a way to make it in a water base. And all of you would know probably Impala, how they jump out and just go. So this is a video of Impala, and I want you now to come back to Brian's question was, and the animal will be much better because there's still tranquilizer in him on the way he walks. But this is him coming out calm, and then they stay calm afterwards. He's not going to come out and try to run away, but he's not incoherent. He's not falling around. He's not going to be trying to search himself. They can still get away from predators. They can still see he has a threat with the herd, trying just to find his way on the outside of the herd till he can join the group. Look at his ears. It's awake. He's not tranquilized or drunk. There's a person standing right next to him. Walk around, stand. We have multiple, my mates will tell me they will come out. They said they couldn't believe they could stand out, and they was looking at him, and he started walking away. This is just some gravy zebra as well, thanks to Wild Enough Partners that sent me the video. And I just want to show these guys this video just to share the information, how zebras would have darted out of there. Also, look at his ears. Totally alert. Still have in him something to try and kick him. He still has energy to get away. Okay, there we go. Now it's working from my hand. Okay, and this is just how the drug, like I said, intramuscularly takes about 5 to 10 minutes to have a full effect. You administer it just before the reversal. Because it's not contraindicated with the drug, with the reversal, intravenous almost a right-away effect, lasts 4 to 6 days to ensure that before offloading is smooth, it starts eating, it socializes with other animals, and it reduces aggression. See, I got some extra notes I thought I wanted to fill in here. Being that in South Africa, they only make the 100 milligram per strength. I had one gentleman calling me and he said to me he's going to transport, he actually got some MK for me for some access. And he asked me, we started talking about it, and I told him we have this drug, And I gave him the 100 milligram, but then it bothered me because I tried and explain him 100 milligram. I took even a syringe and I put a Sharpie line around him on an insulin syringe. So you have to use this very little because I was afraid of overdosing with it. So we already started that long process that Trina told you of testing to make in the US a 20 milligram. Because a kudu, you do 20 to 40 milligrams. So it's 0.2 to 0.4 of a cc. And then with the Impala, you will only do 5 to 10 milligrams. So in this case now, you can do much easier dosing to prevent this overdose. And that would be a thing to prevent the overdose effect. And then there is a side effect with working on the same centrum, but all drugs has contraindications on that. And we've been lucky so far. In South Africa, it's quite no, can happen with, because they will be using other drugs, added a zaparone to it. Be aware of combination medications that contain a zaparone. You can have EPS effect. Sorry. You can have that experimental effects. It's where they're chewing, movement, salivation, and alaxia. In South Africa, bipyridine, the drug there, you get injections. It's very easy. Everybody has it. Veterinary friends may send me from back home, send me very says, all we do is if you see any side effect, we just inject it with that. Of course, in the US, it's not available. The chemical is approved. It's used in Parkinson's. It's a Parkinson's medication, bipyridine. And we are now working with our chemicals. Same struggled with them to convince them to please bring us in perphenazine, to bring me in bipyridine. Then I will have that also available as an antidote. And just to keep there, in case you see anything is starting to have EPS effect. I just wanted to share that information. So, and then lastly, like I said, we are not doing anything new. We were so privileged and honored that we've been approached by this, and we were lucky that we were going home to be able to get some of the medication back there to test it, to try and mimic the one right on this side to be the closest to it as well. We want to thank Wildlife Partners for bringing it to us, and then Kevin, actually at one point when I couldn't get chemical, called me and asked me the whole time, where are we with this? Because the people he knows is that it pushed us to finalize in the process. And then Pam and the rest of Wildlife Partners that's willing to take the chance to say, hey, let's try something new. Let's put something more in our toolkit to make it just better. And like I said, it worked out great at this moment that is an extra thing that works very well in this one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frans. Hey, you did great. Thank you so much.
Sorry, I'm not as good speaker as Brian.
Thank you very much. You did fantastic. I need that remote control, Frans.